Hello, April Mastermind Groups. All of my beautiful people. This video is titled Get Out of Your Own Way. For about 5 years, when I recorded my YouTube videos, I used to say, "Hi, I'm Elizabeth Berry, and I'm reminding you to get out of your own way." Well, today we continue that. Our video is called Get Out of Your Own Way because we're talking about self-worth this month. And a lot of times when we feel like our self-worth is blocked, it's because we're in our own way. So one of the reasons why we think we're in our own way is because we have this thing called imposter syndrome. It comes and taps you on the shoulder and says, "Who are you to be doing what you're doing? Who are you to be trying what you're trying? You stay here. Everybody else has it covered." That's ego, right? That's why our group is called BeyondEgo. Ego is the facade that lives inside of us that tells us that we're not good enough, that we need to stay put, that we need to stay idle and feel stuck because that's where it's comfortable. That's where we're like in our sweatpants, drinking a glass of wine and eating a pizza. That's freaking comfortable, man. But do you really think that's healthy? It's not. Once in a while, it's good, but not all the time. So that's why we're in the Beyond Ego mindset and mind frame of going beyond who we think we ought to be and stepping into our authenticity, which is rather difficult and hard to do. And imposter syndrome is difficult to deal with. And sometimes we don't even know it's there. Sometimes imposter syndrome is there and we're feeling stuck and less than and not worthy. And we don't even recognize that imposter syndrome is telling our mind chatter to say, "Who are you to be doing this? Why are you doing that?" And that's where the stress comes from. That's where that gut feeling of the solar plexus chakra comes in. That's why we have to pay attention to the ontology. That's why this leadership mastermind is not just about leadership and taking notes and doing business and being great. No, I take it to the body level, the mind level, the soul level, the spirit level, the health set level, the heart set level, so that we're understanding the physiology of the body, because the body speaks to us. And if we're too fast, if we're rushing, if we're not present, then we're missing the lessons. The lessons are unintelligible. So the stress where you feel that gut feeling of like, oh man, or when the shoulders are like this, your body is telling you, dude, slow the fuck down. Breathe, right? Imposter syndrome comes in and makes you feel stressed, makes you feel less than, it makes you unworthy. And that's where the mind chatter comes in, the monkey mind. It's like a monkey typing away in a typewriter inside of your brain, telling you you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not handsome enough, you're not as educated as enough. What is enough? Take the measuring stick and throw it out the window, okay? That negativity and mind chatter in self-worth, in this idea of confidence and self-esteem, will create reactivity instead of responsivity. And reactive people tend to bully. They tend to put people in boxes. They tend to separate themselves from other people and create this wedge, right, on purpose. Reactive people with imposter syndrome, people that are not connected to their solar plexus chakra, make excuses. They're an excuse filler. Instead of being proactive, they find an excuse. Oh, and I call them, in my book, Design Your Mind to Be Kind, I call them yeah butters. Yeah butters in my justifier nest, like my justifiers. That means that when you're in a conversation with someone, they'll say, we're gonna do a really cool event, interactivity with justifying and yeah, but they say things like, in a conversation where you wait for someone to respond just to say, yeah, but this, right? You always have an answer. You always have an answer when the ego is protecting you from being wrong. It's okay if you're wrong. Being wrong and owning it gives you more self-worth because you can understand and you learn. You're not here to be perfect. Perfectionism is quite overrated. And when you're in that place of ego, you're not trusting yourself. And you're in this art of comparison, comparing yourself with other people, right? Which is why you make excuses, because you feel like you need to be better. We threw the measuring stick out, right? So when you feel like you're not good enough, and you feel like your fears are there to hold you back, remember to be in service. What does being in service mean? It means coming to that surrender tree and remembering your purpose here on earth. Your purpose here on earth is to living your best life. Life is for the living. Be present. Live in the moment. So if you'd like to get out of your own way and change your fear and imposter syndrome to happiness, we have to change our habits. You see, habit changing is possible. And it's possible because the brain is like a muscle. The brain is kind of like this soft, squishy material. It's kind of like egg whites, right? Fluffy egg whites. It is like a muscle. And when you start to use certain parts of the brain, they start to build. And they start to activate, right? We're talking about that inner fire in the belly. When you use certain parts of the brain, they activate and then they build upon it. It's like a muscle. It's like when you do more yoga, when you do more stretching, when you do more something, you build muscle instead of being weak. The brain is the same way, and the brain can help you change your habits. So in the University of London, they say that it takes about 67 days to change a habit. So in thinking about 67, we can round up to 70 or 70 days, or maybe round down to 60, right? So if we did 60 days to change a habit, let's say you're living with fear right now. So we're going to try a 60-day course. And most of you are going to be here for 60 days. So let's try it. So we'll break it down to 20, 20, and 20. So that's 60. So change is hard, messy, and beautiful at the end. You know, the butterfly, when it leaves its cocoon, it can't come back into the cocoon. It has to fly. The tadpole turns into a frog and it starts to jump. It can't go and swim like that again. So we all can't stay in that comfortable nest. We have to get our wings, lift off, and fly, especially when we're fearful, and especially when we have imposter syndrome. So the first phase, the first 20 days of changing our habit, or any habit of fear, is the destruction phase. So that's where it's like really, really, really hard. You know, like change is hard. This is the hard. This is the messy. And this is the beautiful, right? First 20 days are hard. Second 20 days are messy. Third 20 days are beautiful. So in the destruction phase, this is the hard phase. This is when you start to look inward and you use your eyes that usually look out, because physiologically we're built this way. We were born this way. But your conscious and your soul, your subconscious ask you to look within. And when you look within and you want to look at the fear and you want to look at your habits to say, how do I change that? Well, you're going to be looking at some pretty ugly things. They're going to rear their ugly heads and they're going to make you feel fearful. They're going to be like the things that cause you to have imposter syndrome, the things that cause you to have the mind chatter and the stress and the activity and the reacting and the excuses and the not comparing yourself and you're comparing yourself and the not trusting in yourself and all the BS stories that you believe and tell yourself over and over again. And in fact, you probably tell other people too, and that can cause gossip and all sorts of yucky things. So this is the destruction part, when we start to deconstruct all of those habits that keep us stuffed down and stuck and gross and yucky and ugly in our moods and in our attitudes, right? We just came out of attitude. So if we found that there's something inside of us that wants to stay fearful, let's start to deconstruct that. Let's start in the first 20 days to really hone in on, why is that there? Where did it come from? How can I understand it? Am I going to be okay with that when it shows its ugly head? How do you do that? So that's the hard part, right? The next 20 days are the messy part, right? This is the messy part. The messy part is the installation phase. So this is when you're actually going through that changing, right? Like the cocoon is like, whoa, wait a minute. Am I getting like a wing here? Am I getting like an antenna here? Ooh, it's like that change transformation state where it gets a little messy. It's like half cocoon, half butterfly, half tadpole, half toad. It's weird, right? So that's messy. But it's like the installation phase where you get to go in, because now you've deconstructed. You understand what your fears are coming from, what they are, where they come from, what are they? And then from here, you get the installation phase when you start to say, okay, I know where that fear is coming from. My mother told me that I was never good enough. So we're going to take that out and we're going to replace it with, I am enough. I am good enough. So, right. So it's taking each of those fears out that have been placed there by other people, or by ourselves, or by our ego telling us we're not smart enough, or we're not pretty enough. Put that installation back in and say, I'm going to work on myself to be prettier. I'm going to get a new pair of glasses. I'm going to slim down. I'm going to work on my health. I'm going to get a facial. I'm going to change my clothes. I'm going to get a new haircut. Like all of the things on the exterior that make us feel yucky. And then on the interior, our nutrition, right? If you're not feeling pretty or handsome, or you're feeling a little overweight or flooded with water, what are you putting into your body, right? That's what creates the fear of looking or feeling blah to someone else or to the world. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It matters. What matters most is what you think. But what's going on in the inside, that's when you can start to install. Hey, wait a minute. What am I eating? Am I drinking enough water? Those fears get pulled out, and new installation habits get pulled in. Drinking 8 glasses of water a day, going to bed early, using essential oils, all of those different things, right? So then the last phase is the beautiful phase, which is the integration, right? The integration phase. You start to integrate those new habits in your life, with yourself, with other people, with your circumstances, with your work, with your career, with yourself, with your relationships. The integration phase is that now that you've looked at your fears, now that you've reinstalled all of the bad fears and put the good stuff in, now you get to practice. You get to practice in life. You get to integrate these new healthy habits in your life. Drinking mushroom coffee instead of regular coffee. All of the things that we can do, like for our fears, if we fear that we're not good enough in our careers, we look at our resume and we start to say, I've done this and I've done that. And then you start to integrate that. And then you start to sell that service to people to say, I am good enough. I have this service. I have this product. Would you like to buy it? Would you like to be involved with it? That integration phase where you're not sitting on something idle. You're actually using it as a purpose in life. Whew. So 60 days to change a habit, 3 different parts. Change is hard, messy, and beautiful. There's deconstruction, understanding those fears, which is really like yucky. Installation, which is taking them out and putting in the new. And then the integration, which is putting them into your life and practicing them as a daily ritual. And that's where they become new habits. And that's how we can go from fear and imposter syndrome and get out of our own way and become the beautiful person that has self-worth, that shows self-love, that shows confidence and self-esteem to the world. And if you need a little help with this, because this is complicated, right? I just drew it out on a whiteboard as if like, it's so easy. It's like, oh, boom. It's like, making Jell-O. You put like, water in a cup and then you just fill it with crap artificial colors and it makes it something solid. And then, it's so easy to make Jell-O. It's easy to boil water. It's not easy to do this. So if you need a little help, I am available for coaching and consulting, whether it's for your business, your employees, or for yourself, to just get over all the bullshit stories that you tell yourself, to get out of your own way, to be healthier, happier, just more in the present moment with your willpower and your grit, to know that you can do it. I am here for you. Get out of your own way. I love you.